بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
पहले एक माजरत कि हमारे टेक्नीशियन ने गलती से जो लोगो चलाया है वो पिछली ब्रॉडकास्ट का था, आज की ब्रॉडकास्ट का नहीं। इसके लिए हम माजरत ख्वाह हैं कि चूँकि ऑटोमेटेड सिस्टम है तो गालबन उर्दू ब्रॉडकास्ट में भी यही हुआ होगा। First of all, I start with an apology that the logo played for us was for the last Sunday's broadcast. This is an automated system, so once you set something up incorrectly, unfortunately, it carries on. This is broadcast number 22 in the series, Call of the Messiah. So, Assalamu alaikum and welcome. At the request of a friend who's not a member of our Jamaat, but who has studied the works of Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad and the Lahore Ahmadiyya Jamaat and another Jamaat. And he has come to the conclusion that our Jamaat interprets Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's works correctly. But unfortunately, we have not made that known as widely as we should have done. And he has actually written a book and sent me a copy, which shows the amount of research he has done. But it's interesting that people who are not members of the Lahore Jamaat, like Ghamdi Sahib, like this gentleman whom I will not mention, having independently read Hazrat Sahab's books and the views of the Lahore Ahmadiyya community and another Jamaat, come to the conclusion that our interpretation is correct. So we've decided to make a series of videos dedicated to this topic. And the first and the most important thing to do is to understand the principles of interpretation of the words used in any writing. You start off by establishing the basic principles of anything. Let me give you an example from the real world. America has a constitution. And when a law is made, sometimes people go to the Supreme Court in the United States and say, this law is unconstitutional. What that means is that although procedurally that law may be correct, correctly passed, but it violates the basic and fundamental principles on which the American state was founded. Now, this applies to everything. This applies to Islam, this applies to the Holy Quran. And this applies to trying to understand the writings of any author on any topic. So let's turn to the Holy Quran for some examples. A fundamental principle of Islam is that there is only one God. And we often recite La ilaha illallah, recite the kalima, La ilaha illallah. There is no God but Allah. In the Holy Quran, we find Qul huwallahu ahad. There is only one God. But another word used for Allah, Allah is actually a name. Just like you need a name to identify something. That is a light, this is a table, those are books, and so on. But other words are also used for the same entity. And another word that is used for Allah is Rabb. So in Surah Fatiha, we have Rabbul Alameen. Rabbul Alameen. Rabb of all creation, all the universes. So we say, well, Rabb also means Allah. It also means God. Rabb in fact means creator, nourisher, perfecter, etc. But then we look in the Holy Quran, and in the story of the Israelites, we find that in the Holy Quran, when Israelites have arrived at the promised land and they find that someone else has occupied it, and Hazrat Musa alayhi salam say, well, come on, God promised you this land, but now you have to expel those people. They say, that is the Israelites, they say, well, you and your Rabb. They say to Hazrat Musa, you and your Rabb go and fight them. Now, this discussion has gone on amongst Muslim scholars about what the word Rabb here means. Some say this is a taunt by the Israelites. They are saying to Moses, well, you tell us that God speaks to you, and you told us that he had this promised land and we wandered about in the wilderness for 40 years, and now that we've arrived here, you're telling us we've got to fight for it. We didn't enter into any contract to fight. So you, who gave us this prophecy, and your Rabb, Allah, you go and fight. And if you win, we'll be happy to come and rule over that land. That is one interpretation. But other scholars say that the word Rabb here refers to elder brother. And what the Holy Quran is, in words of the Holy Quran, what the Israelites are saying to Hazrat Musa, Moses, you're the prophet and Aaron is the prophet. And the revelation came to the two of you. So you should go and fight, and once you're victorious, then come back and tell us. So they say that the word Rabb here means elder brother. That's interesting. And this debate has gone on for 1,000 years, whether the word Rabb here means Aaron or Allah. The point I'm making is this, that you need to study the context of the use of a word in the light of basic principles. If you don't, then you will end up with the wrong conclusion. Let's take this further. Let's take other examples of the use of the word Rabb. In another place, the Holy Quran uses the word Rabbiyun. Why don't they go and ask their Rabbiyun? Why don't they go and ask their Rabbs? Does that mean that the Holy Quran is saying that each people, each nation has their own gods? Because that was the situation in Makkah, that every tribe had an idol that they went to and worshipped. Is that what the Quran is saying by using the word Rabbiyun? But here, this word Rabbiyun is universally translated as religious scholars, religious guides, religious leaders. Why? Because the basic meaning of Rabb is the one who guides, the one who trains, the one who educates, the one who brings up. And what the Quran is saying is, why don't they go and ask about this to the people who are responsible for their spiritual and religious guidance? So far, we have used the word Rabb for Allah. Sorry, I shall correct that. So far, the Holy Quran has used the word Rabb for Allah, the creator of heavens and the earth, elder brother, religious scholars. So let's carry on. Let's get to the story of Hazrat Yusuf. We all know the story about the king's wife and Joseph. She tried to seduce him and so on and so forth. And she then makes allegations against Hazrat Yusuf, and he is put in prison. Now the words of the Holy Quran, and the king has a dream. And no one can interpret that dream. And then someone says to him, there's this man in prison, and he's very good at interpreting dreams. Perhaps we should ask him. So the king says, okay. So the words of the Holy Quran at this point are, when the Rasul came to Yusuf, Now, what Rasul is this? When we use the word Rasul, we mean someone from Allah, someone sent by Allah, like Jesus or Moses or David. But here the king sent someone, and the Holy Quran is saying when Rasul came to Joseph. But let's carry on. Joseph then says, my Rabb knows that I'm innocent. What about your Rabb? Has he investigated those women? Now here, in one verse of the Holy Quran, word Rabb is used twice, almost literally next to each other. My Rabb and your Rabb. Does that mean that there are two gods? But the Quran says, Kullu Wallahu Ahad. There is only one. So how will you interpret that? Here, a prophet of Allah, Hazrat Yusuf, he is saying, my Rabb and your Rabb. So how do you reconcile? Well, you reconcile it by going back to what I said to you. That is, that you look at the basic principles of Islam. The basic principle of Islam is that there is only one God. La ilaha illallah. There is no God except for Allah. And we then look at the use of the word Rabb in this verse. Rabb is the creator, the nourisher, the perfecter, as I said. Now, that soldier's Rabb was the king of Egypt, not because that king of Egypt created him, but because that soldier, that messenger was in the employment of that king, and he paid the salary with which he brought up his family. In a sense, he was the nourisher. In Urdu, we have this Malik Naukar, master servant. But we also say master of the day of judgment. The use of master in two places is not the same. It is different. And we need to remember this. So here one word of Arabic, Rabb, has been used in the Holy Quran for Allah the Creator, for as meaning elder brother, as meaning scholars, as meaning employer. If you don't understand the basic principles, and if you don't understand the context of use of these words, you will be misled. And this is what has happened. This is what has happened. Moving from the Holy Quran to ordinary Arabic. Rabbul Bayt in Arab word in Arab countries means the master of the house, the owner of the house, the husband. It doesn't mean God of the house. And this is not just theory. You find this mentioned in Arabic dictionaries, but I was having a chat with an Arab, and I was trying to explain to him. He asked me, what's the all the fuss about between the Horiamdis and others? And I was trying to explain to him, and he said, looked puzzled, and he said, yes, but what's the problem? And I tried again, and he repeated his question, and I tried again. Then I said, I've tried to explain it to you 3 times, and I can't understand how to explain it to you if you don't understand. And he said, I don't understand because in my country, the husband or the father is called Rabbul Bayt. But no one thinks it means God of the house. So what you're saying is correct. What I don't understand is why people are confused by this. The reason that people are confused is that there are certain words that have come into Urdu from Arabic. And whereas in Arabic they have a very wide meaning, in Urdu that meaning has been restricted. Hazrat Sahib himself refers to this problem in a number of places in his books. He says it's very odd that you use the Urdu terminology to explain a concept and everyone's fine. But you use the Arabic word so that you use one word rather than a whole expression to put forward an idea, to explain an idea, and suddenly they get upset. And that is the reason. And that is the reason. And you can only understand. You see, if you have the constitution of a country, or if you go for registration of a limited company to Companies House in the UK, and you present to them your company's constitution, the rules and regulations, at the beginning you will have definitions. At the beginning you will have definitions. We'll use this word and it'll mean this. We'll use this word and it'll mean this. We'll use this word and it'll mean this. So in the context of that constitution, when you come across that word, that is the meaning that you have to apply. And if you don't, then you will be misled. And this is how people are misled. So what you do is you go back to the fundamental principles. Fundamental principle of Islam is that God is one. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. There is no God but Allah. Allah is the only God. So let's see what the Quran means when it says, you and your Rabb go and fight these people. Let's see when the Quran says, why don't they go and ask their Rabbiyun? Let's see what the Quran says when it says, my Rabb knows I'm innocent. Has your Rabb investigated those women who made this allegation against me? And this was what Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad told. He said, the Holy Quran says, Khatamun Nabiyyin. The best person to ask what it means is the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Holy Prophet Muhammad said, it means La Nabiya Badi. La, no. Nabiya, prophet. Ba'di, after me. Ba'd, after he, me. No prophet after me. So Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad said that no prophet, old or new, can appear after the Holy Prophet Muhammad. So we're going back to the principles established by the Quran and its interpretation by the Holy Prophet Muhammad. In the same way, Hazrat Sahib said that basic principles of Quran, for example, the statement that I have revealed this and I will protect it, means that all the revelation that the angel Gabriel brought to the Holy Prophet is safe in the Holy Quran. Nothing has been left out. Surah Rajam hasn't been left out. Ayah Walayat hasn't been left out. In the same way, as Rasab said, no verse of the Holy Quran is abrogated. Even Hazrat Shah Waliullah Rahmatullah said 5 verses of the Holy Quran are abrogated. Hazrat Sahib said no verse of the Holy Quran is abrogated. In the same way, Hazrat Sahib said that jihad is a duty of every Muslim. You cannot abrogate it. But the needs of time and place determine what kind of jihad is to be conducted. Whether it is with the sword or whether it is with the pen or whether it is by some other means. These were his teachings. And in this series, we will continue first with explaining the principles that we need to understand before we go to the writings of Hazrat Mirza Ghulam. And then compare the interpretation of those writings between the Lahore Ahmadiyya Jamaat and other people. With that, I take my leave of you. Our next broadcast is tomorrow, 7 p.m. in Urdu, which is Reflections in the Holy Quran, and then 7:30 in English. Sorry, at 7 p.m. it's Tadabburul Quran, and at 7:30 it's Reflections on the Holy Quran. When we look at the Holy Quran word by word and look at all the different meanings of a word, its context, where it is being used by the Holy Quran in the light of the principles of Islam. Until then, I pray that whoever you are, wherever you are, may Allah keep you all safe and sound and free from harm. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, goodbye.